Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, we head to Jordan, where by law a rapist can marry his victim in order to escape a jail sentence. Also the move to increase the role of women in the French Catholic Church. And the changing face of sex education here in France. But we begin in Jordan, where a law allows in some cases a rapist to marry the victim and escape a 15-year prison sentence. The Hashemite Kingdom is one of the last countries in the world to apply such a law. Our team on the ground met women who've suffered the consequences.
In this park in Amman, a 31-year-old Jordanian woman has agreed to meet us. She prefers to remain anonymous. Her life stopped the day her boss drugged and raped her.
When I woke up, it was 7 in the evening and I was wondering what had happened to me. He said it was really serious, but that he'd make it all okay. He brought me a piece of paper. It was a marriage contract.
Using Article 308, the attacker escaped a 15-year sentence by marrying her. A life of hell behind closed doors had just started for this woman, forced to become the spouse of her own rapist.
After that, he raped me over and over again. And he was never punished for it. He was never sent to jail. The authorities only detained him once so he would marry me. That's it. Just to get married, and that was it.
After 4 months, she filed for divorce and ran away to her parents' house. Her aggressor has started a new life. Each year, less than 300 women dare to report rape in Jordan. Many of them seek the services of this lawyer, but most of the time, the prosecution ends with a wedding.
During the investigation, or even if he's already been sent to jail, he can still benefit from this article. The family of the rapist goes to the family of the victim and offers a settlement in line with the culture and values. Most victims agree to it and sign the legal contract.
For the ones who get pregnant after being abused, the only way to keep their child is to marry the father. The lawyer takes us to one of her clients. This young woman gave birth to a boy after being raped by 2 strangers. Her son was taken away from her at birth.
If I'd wanted to keep my baby, I would have had to get married. But I could never have done so. It would have been impossible because I was never able to identify my rapists. So I lost my child. I lost my baby.
Why isn't there a law that allows women to keep their children without marrying their rapist?
There are no laws, there's only tradition, a culture. The law does not allow women with children to live without a husband, to live unmarried.
While other Muslim countries like Morocco have rejected similar laws, Article 308 still finds support in over half the population of Jordan.
Now, on this program, we've run a number of reports on mothers working together and making a difference in their local communities. In the Cape Town suburb of Beacon Valley in South Africa, unemployment and drug abuse are high. Less than half of students are expected to complete their education, but a group of mothers are very determined to reverse the trend.
Here in Cape Town's Beacon Valley, unemployment, crime and drug abuse are all too common, and it's having an effect on school attendance. But a group of local mothers are trying to change that.
There are many children that don't go to school in the morning. Sometimes the fathers don't work. Mummies are on drugs. They can't get up in the morning. That's why we have to go wake them up.
In the last 15 years, crystal meth use has become widespread. Cheap, highly addictive, and readily available, it's wreaked havoc on the community.
We do realize the circumstances. We do realize that our community is broken.
Up early, the team cooks porridge for around 90 children. At 7 a.m., they start knocking on doors to have the children out of bed, fed, and behind their desks by 8 a.m. The women also collect school uniforms, which are mended and handed out.
They get labeled if they don't smell nice or their clothes, or, they've been treated in a different way. No matter how bad it is at home, the least that we can do is make that child as comfortable as possible at school, so that learning is the only thing they take in. And we always talk about it. how we want to give these children the best shot that they ever had.
In 2013, less than half the pupils who started school in this province are expected to complete their education. That's a statistic these women are working hard to change.
While Pope Francis has been receiving much attention over his reformist comments, the pontiff has made it abundantly clear that he still believes the Catholic priesthood should remain masculine. But he does agree that there's a need to increase the role of women in the church, a move very much supported here in France.
Merci, Jean.
Over the past 6 years, Manuela's been helping out in this parish in the suburbs of Paris.
Bonjour, monsieur.
She works part-time and is paid by the diocese. She's the one who coordinates events in this Catholic church and is the priest's right-hand woman.
We're here because we have a common cause, and it's all going well. But obviously, I'm not here to make a career.
Indeed, in the Roman Catholic Church, women are not allowed to become priests, but things are starting to change. Pope Francis himself says although priesthood is only reserved to men, women can share more pastoral responsibilities. Sister Nathalie Bicard heads the national service for the evangelization of youths at the Bishops' Conference of France. She says men and women in church complement one another.
We're different, but that difference is elusive. It's risky to say women are like this or men are like that. But from what I've experienced, everywhere I've worked in a team with men and women, I've noticed we're seen in a different way. Our relations with people are different, and it's always a fruitful experience.
But for feminists like Anna, the Catholic Church should give women exactly the same rights as men.
We're living in a world where women's emancipation has become accepted. It's a reality. A Catholic person cannot be torn between living in a civil society where women have their place and in a church where women's role isn't recognized. Personally, I think it's a terrible situation for Catholics to live in these two opposite worlds.
In recent months, Manuela's been charged with several duties that used to be for priests only. Her dream is that women will one day have a voice in church and be ordained to the priesthood, just like women in the Church of England.
And staying in France, the first family planning centre opened in this country in 1961. Back then, abortions were illegal and contraception was sold illicitly. These days, sex education is standard across schools, but now the problem is access to too much information, in particular pornography, on the internet. This report looks at how much it has changed in just one generation.
How do you make babies? What about not having any? Who can you talk to? To answer all these questions, France's very first family planning center opened its doors in Grenoble in June 1961.
What are you expecting from this center?
Information. We don't know anything and we want to be informed in a clear and simple way.
In some parts of the country, these issues are taboo, and it's hard to talk about them with specialists.
These family planning centers were also meant to help women control their pregnancies in order to avoid dangerous illegal abortions.
These abortions are a national disaster. There are between 800,000 and 1 million each year. We're trying to fight that by avoiding unwanted pregnancies.
The U.S. was the pioneer in matters of planned parenting thanks to Margaret Sanger, who opened the first birth control clinic in the U.S. in 1916, all while the French Parliament was banning abortions and contraception. 50 years later, this meant family planning centers had to give out birth control illegally. In the 60s, the generational gap on matters of love and sex grew even wider.
Your problem is that you believe the right way to prepare for married life is to have sexual experiences before marriage.
Exactly. I find it crazy to get married without knowing each other, and I mean physically and personally.
I don't think putting the cart before the horse is the right way to prepare for a happy marriage.
1967 was a turning point. Birth control was finally legal. A year later, Helga, a documentary on sexuality, hit movie theaters across the country. Though some viewers fainted at the sight of women giving birth, overall, the movie was proof that sex was becoming less taboo. 1973 marked another step forward. Abortion became legal and sex education appeared in schools. While students were ready to talk, teachers weren't exactly confident.
I'd like them to teach me about the scientific and the emotional aspects.
We are all extremely worried about how we're going to teach this class.
In the late 70s, bookstands filled up with sex ed publications for children of all ages. 30 years later, the issue is not lack of information, but rather too much of it, especially access to pornography. By the age of 15, 77% of French boys have watched porn at least once.
You learn a few things. What a woman's body looks like, for example.
The web can also be an answer to porn's crude images. With its videos, one association is trying to move past sex to give teenagers a sensual education.
And that's it for now. And if you'd like to comment on what you've just seen, you can head to our Facebook page, France24 51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. Thanks for your feedback so far, and please keep those comments coming in. Now, over the European summer, we're going to be rebroadcasting some of our best programs from the last year, and I'll be back with a brand new series at the end of August. Until then, bye for now.